about 3 years ago, I was lucky enough to get connected with a machine builder out in Washington named Jim Rosel. And I had set up a time to go out there and build some machines with him and learn some stuff from him. And I ended up canceling that trip because I ended up moving my shop. And then I was like, but I'll do it next year. And then next year I bought the building. And then this year I moved into that building. And so I just kept saying, next year, next year, next year. And I decided that I was done doing that and that I was just going to go ahead and go for it. And I bought an RV, and that kind of birthed this whole project. To back up a little bit, my name's Corey, Corey Woods. I'm up in Bangor, Maine. I own El Dorado Tattoos. I first started tattooing a little over 10 years ago, and then I first got into machine building about 3.5 years ago. I went down to see a buddy of mine, John, in West Palm Beach, Florida, and then shortly thereafter went and spent a week with Scott Sterling down in Virginia Beach. Really just started getting into machine building. And I didn't really get into machine building for the same reason a lot of machine builders do. That always kind of felt funny to me because I felt like I wasn't necessarily in it the same way a lot of these guys are. A lot of machine builders I talk to, they're super into building machines. Like they were like, oh, like I got a tattoo machine and I wanted to tear it apart to see how it worked and put it back together and figure out, and for me, like, I think all that's cool, of course, but like if it's running good, I'm leaving it together. It's a tool, you know what I mean? Like I want a machine that's gonna run good. I don't want to fuck with it. And the reason I first got interested in it was just because I love tattooing, and I know that it's not something that a lot of people necessarily know about. And I've never been a mechanically inclined person, so I kind of figured it would be something I'd learn the basics of, and oh, this is the process for it, and kind of leave it at that. But it kind of became a lot more than that to me, just through some of the relationships I made through it. And I'm actually mathematically inclined. I've always been pretty good at math, and I was able to make some breakthroughs that way, on the actual like literal geometry side of things. But it grew to be this thing that I always explain it as, it's like the most fun I've ever had being that pissed off at something. Because every machine I build ends up getting yelled at least, 5 times for good measure. But yeah, so that's me. That's who I am. So I bought this RV about a month ago now, and I can't say the logic was all the way sound. Like I wasn't like, it wasn't not thought out, but it hasn't been a plan for like a super long time either. I had been figuring out, like, okay, if I'm going to go see Jim, if I'm going to go to Washington, I need to make a trip out of it at least. I've lived up in Maine for 3.5 years now, and ever since I moved here, I've just kind of felt trapped. I've been a person that's moved around a lot. I've been fortunate enough to spend a lot of my career traveling, and since opening a shop, I haven't been able to get out nearly as much, which is part of it. But I was like, if I'm going to go all the way across the country to a state I've never been to before, I want to drive. I want to see shops along the way. I want to make the most of it. And that quickly turned into something way more. The initial thing with the RV was, it was just like a way of making the trip happen. Like, okay, if I buy this thing, I'm all in. And it literally happened so fast. I had been actually talking about buying vans or like a super old camper or whatever, and figuring out a way to fix it up over beforehand, and then hitting the road next year. And I woke up super early one morning, and I live right next to an RV dealership, so I ate breakfast and drove over there and talked to a sales guy and looked at like some of the newer ish RVs they had and checked them out. I was like, I just want to see like if this looks like something I could be comfortable in for an extended period of time, or if I need to, come up with a different plan. I figured out what I kind of liked and didn't like initially on an RV, and sure enough, the next day I get a call. They've taken one in on trade. It's 10 years old, so it's fairly new, pretty low miles, great shape, and I bought it. I think I literally bought it the next day. Was a fairly quick decision, although I had been thinking about something in those lines for a while. The possibility of an RV went from like fairly non-existent to me owning an RV in like 72 hours. And it's really funny because like I hate camping. Like I'm not an outdoorsy guy. I don't really want to go taking it out into the woods and camping on the, building campfires and stuff. I mean, I probably will build some campfires just because I can now, but I'm not typically, like, I don't usually go out of my way to do that kind of thing. Like, I literally spend all of my time in tattoo shops, which is where I'd much rather be. And I started to really change what my plans for the trip itself were once I realized I was going to have the means to be able to just live on the road for an extended period of time. Initially I was just going to leave during slow season because, as we all know, that's the best time to hit the road. But I was going to leave from Maine in like right after Christmas and just drive across the north to Yakima, do the class, seminar type deal, build some machines, maybe hang out for a couple days, get tattooed, and then drive back and sell machines along the way. And then my wife kind of brought up the point of like, do you really want to drive across the north during January? Why don't you just wait a little later and go when it's warmer? So that's kind of what I'm doing now, except instead of going across the north, I'm going to Washington the long way. So I'm actually doing a big U pretty much. I'm going down to Daytona in February, get there by March, work bike week, cross to California, up California into Washington, back down through Nevada, up Route 66, bounce around the Midwest and the South a little bit, and then go back home. I realized doing this, I'm going to be able to meet tattooers I've always wanted to meet, see shops I've always wanted to see, get a chance to, sell some machines and get my name out there. Although that kind of was, the selling machines thing kind of started as the justification for going around. But truthfully, like, I'm going during slow season. Don't know how many machines I'm going to be selling while I'm out there. So luckily, even just since announcing this trip, I've had people hit me up from out west that want to get tattooed, and some people, I'm originally from Louisville, Kentucky, so people from back home wanting to get tattooed. And then of course I'm starting the trip by heading down to work bike week, so I'll be able to make money as I'm going around, which is good because that further enables me to stay on the road and doing all these things. Once I realized I was going to be able to go all these places, see all these things, it became clear to me that I needed to at least document these things, right? If not for anyone else, for me. I wanted to be able to look back at pictures and videos. If I'm going all these places, I should at least bring a camera, have a way of, being able to look back at things. And then right about that time, one of my guys at work told me he was opening a publishing company or starting a publishing company. He's always been into reading, writing. Actually, he has like a film degree as well. Like, he's super talented at all that kind of stuff. And Ryan's his name, and he's actually going to be helping me a lot with this project, Ryan Robinson. And when I found out that Ryan was doing that, I was like, well, I should put all this together in a book. I've been bouncing around exactly how I want to display that, how I want to go about doing all of this. because I also want to record the stories with it. I want to talk to tattooers and get to know why they fell in love with tattooing, what tattooing still means to them, what keeps them motivated, get to see tattooers from all over. Not, sure, I'll try to meet, the tattooers that I've looked up to for years, but I'm also equally as excited to meet the guy that lives in the middle of nowhere that's been tattooing for 30 years. That's super cool. Sometimes not. We've been there, but I've even been able to like set up some preemptive, like, hey, like when I get to where you are, can I talk to you? Can I interview you? Can I ask you some questions? Can we just put up a camera and talk? Like, can we just have some conversation? And building machines with people. I've already set up a couple people I'm gonna build some machines with when I'm traveling around, and it's cool. Like the project itself is very tattoo centric. I'm gonna be talking to tattooers, building machines, photographing tattooers in their shops, hearing their stories. I still don't know exactly what I'm going to do with all of it. I do know that I'm going to take the video and make it publicly available. So, that's more or less what this YouTube channel is a way for me to document that and make it readily available. It's not, the channel might include more than that. Like, if I'm going to be on the road for months, literally. I don't have a return date even. Like, I'm just hitting the road, and then after bike week, I really don't have set dates on anything. So it's like just as long as it takes to get through the trip, and as long as it's feasible, with that being in a unique situation where I don't have a timeline, I'm going to stop and, take the chance to see places I've never seen, meet strangers, even like if I come across somebody that's interesting, even outside of tattooing. I meet a guy that's been repairing neon signs in Las Vegas for a million years. Like, I'm going to, stop and talk to him. And if I have the opportunity, maybe share that here as well. And, I'll be sharing a lot of stuff about my own experiences in tattooing here. But, the project itself, I don't have a name for it yet. I'm just calling it the project as of right now. I've been thinking of calling it like the Tattooers Project or something along that line, but I don't know. We'll see. And that will be a big portion of what I'm using this channel for. And the page itself will probably be fairly tattoo-centric, oriented around tattoo stories and the project itself, but there might be some other stuff in there as well. So now I feel like it's important to address that the project isn't the entire channel. It's a huge part of what I'll post here, but it's not the entire thing. I'm driving around the country. I'm going to film everything I find interesting, not just tattoos, although that's by far the biggest part. Like I said, I spend all my time in tattoo shops, but if I'm seeing the country for the first time, like I've been around the East Coast pretty much my whole life, so going out west is like a big deal for me. I've never really been out there except for Las Vegas, and getting to go out there and see all these people and meet all these tattooers. I've met a lot of tattooers from out west on the East Coast or in Vegas, but getting to see them on their turf, seeing their shops and all that, that's going to be such a big part of it, and sharing the stories and everything. But I want to leave room for like other things I find interesting, and I'll be sharing some of my own experiences with tattooing on here, but I want a record of everything with the trip, not just necessarily fitting it all under like that tattoo umbrella. So we'll see where it all goes. The reason I'm doing YouTube in the first place is just to have somewhere to like have this publicly available. I think it's a good way for documenting like where tattooing is right now, like in the present time. We hear a lot about like, oh, this is the way tattooing used to be, and like I was born in 97. I'm 29 years old. A lot of the tattooers I know were tattooing when I was born or right around, and I take their word and I believe them, of all the stories and everything. But a lot of that stuff is second, third hand at this point, and I think it'd be really cool as a thing for tomorrow's tattooers, to be able to see tattooing as it was today and having that publicly available, to share the stories of, tattooing so orally recorded. Like, it's not, we're in a very impermanent craft, like it's tattooing, the tattoos die with the wearer. It's not, it doesn't live on forever. Sure, Flash will be around, but I mean, that shit burns up in fires. Uh, you know, for something so permanent, it's quite impermanent, and having these stories be around forever, it just kind of lets these tattooers live even longer, and outlast the physical tattoos. And I think that's really cool as well. And it also lets you in on a side of tattooing that you can't really capture in a picture all the time. Like I think a picture in a photograph can definitely convey emotion, but tattooers are storytellers, and I love hearing tattooers tell stories, man. That's one of the most exciting things in the world to me. And having those recorded, and not all of them will be good. I've heard my fair share of bad ones too, but just having them, I think, would be the coolest thing, And I want to document it properly, not just in short clips. I could do little like Instagram reels and whatever the fuck, but I want a place where I can actually just have stories and have, maybe it's not a direct story, but like a tattooer's story of, what got them into it or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's just, it could be anything really. But where I'm at right now is I'm still here in Bangor, Maine. Haven't left yet. I'm taking the RV on a test run at the end of the month. My wife and I are going to go down to Pennsylvania, I think, and we're going to break in the camper, make sure, nothing's broken in here, and make sure that it's good to go. And then, let's see, me and Scott Sterling, we're going to Lenoir, North Carolina in September, so I'm picking him up, and it's Labor Day weekend. We're going to go down there and work that convention together again. And then October, I'm taking it down to Biketoberfest. I'm going to work that, and I'll probably start, talking to tattooers and getting comfortable talking, and doing interviews. I've never been like this. Right now is so uncomfortable to me. Like, I'm sitting here talking to my computer. I feel like a complete lunatic. But I'm doing it. And, that's the first step, I suppose. So I'll probably get started with recording some stuff in the meantime, talking to some friends, people that I already know and I'm comfortable with, and getting some of that kind of rolling so that when I finally get on the road in February, I have a better like comfort level doing this kind of thing. Currently planning, I'm reaching out to people, I'm researching, I talked to Jim today. He said just let him know when I know exactly when I'll be there. So I think once I'm on the road, Texas is kind of my biggest holdup before I get to Washington. I really want to see a lot of Texas. I've never been there before. And there's a lot of tattooers I love that are in Texas. So I'm going to have to spend a little bit of time in Texas. And the barbecue, come on. But once I get out of Texas, I'll be able to give him a call and have that kind of planned date-wise. And then after that, I'll be rolling along. I've been reaching out to tattooers, kind of planning different little stops or side quests, so to say, within it. There's certain tattooers that I've never met, some I have met that aren't necessarily on the exact path I'm taking, but I'm already figuring out little loopholes to kind of go off the path I was planning to end up seeing them or their shops or whatever. So reaching out to people and just trying to make sure that I can catch them and everything kind of where I'm at right now. I've been breaking shit in the RV already. Got the refrigerator replaced today, so I'll see if I can stop breaking shit. Granted, that one was, I'm pretty sure, broken when I got it. But yeah, I know it's early. We're still 8 months out from the big trip, but I wanted to start documenting at the very beginning, not just once I get on the road. So working through a lot of the planning, figuring out what exactly I'm going to do, where I'm going to go for what stuff. There's so many machine builders. That's like, obviously, even, the trip itself is obviously like fully tattoo oriented. But within that, for me, a lot of it's kind of machine centric. So, like, I've already reached out to a lot of my friends that build machines, and I'm already planning on going to see them. I've got a couple people that I'm building machines with that, I'll stop and see them. So, and then I still got to I got to make an honest effort to sell some machines. So, like, I'll be stopping by, random shops and stuff. But that being said, if you're seeing this, I'm not really going to promote it too heavy or anything that I'm doing this part of it just yet. But if you happen to stumble across it and you got some shops you think I should stop by, please feel free to leave it in the comments. And if you have any questions about what I'm doing, leave it in the comments. I'll answer anything I can. I don't know exactly what this project's going to become. I don't know what this channel is going to become. But I know I'm finally getting to go to Washington. I'm going to go see Jim, and I'm going to meet a whole lot of people between here and there. And, like I said, I figured I might as well bring a camera along. So if you're interested in this kind of thing, feel free to subscribe, to the YouTube channel here. I don't even know how that works, to be honest. I'm learning this in real time. So I appreciate you all bearing with me if you sat through all this. If you did, great. If not, well, you didn't. So talk to you later.